Hi, everyone. Welcome to Smiling Through the Tears. We are going to jump back into part 2 of the lasting effects of life with a narcissist. We went over a lot of information last week, and this week we're going to continue all of the techniques that they use to keep you in bondage and to keep you from being able to escape the web that they keep you in. And so we're going to start with the next strategy that they use called triangulation. Greg, do you have any input on what triangulation means?
I hear the word and it makes me think of strangulation. I think last time you talked a little bit about your experience with that too, but tell me more.
Has nothing to do with strangulation, but it means involving other people to elicit feelings of jealousy, competitiveness, insecurity in the victim. For example, they might compare you to another person or bring other people into an argument. For example, I'm not the only one who thinks you're crazy. It instills insecurity and makes you doubt yourself. As a result, you change your behavior and to please them and prove that you are worthy. Of course, I dealt with this as well as the other one. He was always trying to make me feel insecure by telling me all these other women want me and women are constantly reaching out to me. I can't help it that I'm so desirable and I have such a great personality that people actually want me. And then he would also pit my family against me and caused a lot of hurt and isolated me from them along with my friends. If I were to contact one of my friends, if I was able to escape and go out and run to the store briefly and want to call one of my friends to kind of give them some information about the things that I was going through, I had to delete their phone number off of my phone before I got home because he would be mad if he saw a number to one of my friends in my phone. And he would tell me that, you don't need to be telling people about our problems. Our problems are just between you and I, and you can't be sharing them with everybody.
Hey, real quick, how did he get into your phone? Like, did he know your password, or did you have to turn it over to him and let him check?
He would just say, let me see your phone real quick. I want to check something. And then in the meantime, while he was checking it, he would be like...
You gave it to him.
I did. I did. I guess because... that's part of the web that you get into is you're trying to prove all the time that you're not doing anything wrong because they always make you feel, even though you know you're not doing anything wrong, you feel like you are because you're always being accused of doing something wrong. So it's almost like you willingly want to be like, yeah, here's my phone so they can see that you're on the up and up and that you're not doing anything wrong. It's almost like proving yourself to them in some ways. So I used to tell him, well, if you didn't treat me terribly, I wouldn't have anything to tell my friends negatively about you. So maybe if you actually started treating me kindly, then I wouldn't have to call anybody and tell them bad things about you. And so basically what they want to do is they want to isolate you from everybody because they know that your friends and your family are going to tell you that what is happening to you is not okay. My family was actually able to sympathize with him because he had just lost his wife 4 months prior, which should have actually been a huge red flag to me because somebody that had lost their wife in that short amount of time certainly isn't healed enough to engage in a relationship. So that was poor judgment on my part for sure.
Well, real quick, Christina, didn't you tell me that, though, with this person's wife, that you'd come to find through talking to other relatives of hers that you met through him, that there was a challenge in the relationship that he had with the lady that he was married to and it ultimately passed?
That information was not relayed to me through his sister-in-laws.
Oh.
That was actually a woman that I found on his messenger that I ended up reaching out to, and she and I became friends, and she had been having a 10-year affair with him. And of course, when I confronted him regarding this, she was a liar. He had met her at work. She wanted him. He didn't reciprocate. So she was an angry, disgruntled woman because of that. And then she lied for all these years, accusing him of cheating with her. Did his wife know about all of that? I don't know because I never, got a chance to talk with her. And she had passed after that. But I do think that some of the things that he told me about how his wife pulled away from him for years, didn't show him a lot of affection, points me to believe that she had suspicions of things. Women have instinctual feelings. They know when things aren't right, and they know when things are off with their husband. And I'm sure men kind of get that same instinctual feeling with their women. So I think that deep down she knew that things were off, and that's probably why she had pulled away from him. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
But back to what I was saying about him trying to turn my family against me. I think they had so much sympathy for him because of the loss of his wife. And same with me. Like, that's how he kind of kept me for such a long period of time, because I'm such a sympathetic and empathetic person that every time I would try to walk away, he would be crying and saying, you know, I don't want to lose you too. Like, I can't lose somebody else. Please don't do this to me. And all of this stuff. So, of course, the guilt would get to me, and then I would feel like a terrible person. Like, yeah, how could I leave this poor guy when he lost his wife? Now I'm leaving him. And it would just make me go back into like a guilt where I was felt guilted into staying with him. So with my family, I truly thought that all the damage that he did was irreparable between my family and I. There was a lot of hurt that accumulated between that time frame. He was lying to them and then lying to me about different things. And then when we would fight, he would always say to me, nobody loves you except for me. Your family don't love you. Your kids don't love you. Like, nobody loves you. Nobody's there for you except for me. He literally tried to turn me against everybody. And he did have some success in turning me against some people. But of course, he was never able to turn me against my children. Even though he literally, if you can believe this, called my adult children and asked them information about my past to find out anything that I had done wrong previously in my life, so that he could then in turn come back and throw it in my face and make me feel like I'm a terrible person for anything that I may have done wrong in my past. Obviously, my children did not appreciate this. They felt very uncomfortable with this. And after he had made the phone calls, they let me know that, you know, he had contacted them. I think that's pretty low when you, as an adult, are in a relationship and you start bringing children into it and trying to dig up dirt on the person that you're with regarding their mother.
Yeah, I agree.
He was always making me feel that I had to earn his love and that I was never worthy. I was always I always felt like I had to prove that I was good enough and that I'm not a bad person that he thought that I was. And I cannot tell you the freedom associated with knowing you do not have to prove your worthiness to anybody. You're worthy, not because of who you are, but because of Christ in you. It took me a while after dealing with that situation and that relationship to actually believe and accept that. But because when you've had somebody push you down for over a year and try to make you feel that you're less than and that you'll never be good enough, it's hard to reclaim your identity in Christ. He literally tried in every way that he could to break my spirit. And temporarily, I think he succeeded. Like I always say, though, but then God. God said, oh, no. You are my child. You are my chosen child. You are wonderfully and beautifully made. He said to me, you're unique, special, lovely, precious, strong, worthy. And if God says it, that's good enough for me. I don't need to hear it from a man. I don't need validation from anybody but my Heavenly Father. And I can tell you that there's such a joy and a peace that come and a contentment from knowing that you're a daughter of the King and that you should be treated as such. And so I will never let anybody become my identity, because I know now that I've gotten closer to God and God's revealed a lot of things to me throughout that time frame, that my identity comes solely from Jesus Christ. And if you ever have anybody in your life trying to make you feel that you're not worthy and you're a child of the King, do not believe it. It's nothing but a lie. If you feel those thoughts in your mind, that's lies from the devil. Don't believe it, because with Christ, you are more than enough. You are so worthy that he literally died for you. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I believe that you realize your self-worth when you understand how God sees you. You were bought with a price. He has plans for each and every one of us. If you're breathing, you have work to do in this world. He loves you unconditionally, and he will never leave us and never forsake us. Such security in knowing that. Also, the next thing that they want to start doing is they want to isolate you. And Greg, I'm sure you can assume. That's pretty
explanatory. Yep. To keep you away from maybe people and things you like to do and friendships and stuff like that.
Exactly. It's so much easier to control someone when they do not have a support network. This part of the narcissist strategy is to isolate you from your friends and family, and that's not good enough for them. Also, they want to turn you against them. They may plant seeds of doubt about their loyalty, their support, point out the flaws that they have, and sometimes they may even make you choose between them and your friends and family. And without anyone to talk to, it is much easier for them to continue the abuse. And then we're going to move on to the next strategy, which is flying monkeys. Greg, any thoughts on that?
I have thoughts, probably not specific to this discussion, but this is the one I've been waiting to hear about, so tell me.
Well, this is another way narcissists isolate their victim. It's by using what they call flying monkeys. These are usually people in your network, your friends, your family, your colleagues, whom they groom with the same tactics they used on you. The narcissist gets them on his or her side to strengthen his or her position. For example, if you complain to your friend about something the narcissist did, in my case, it was more like my family, they might say something like, "No way, she's such a nice person, she would never do that," leading you into further self-doubt, confusion, and submission. Yes, unfortunately, my family was used in this manner, but so thankful for the restoration that God can bring into families and relationships. God has allowed forgiveness on both sides, and though my perpetrator thought that he had won by turning us against one another, again, but God said, no, I'm going to restore these relationships. Was it easy? Absolutely not. It took a lot of time and a lot of healing on both sides for our hearts to be renewed enough to be able to find that forgiveness that he created so much turmoil in those relationships that it truly felt like it was never going to, we were never going to recover from that. But when God's involved, anything can be recovered. Any relationship can be recovered. Any kind of healing can take place. And that was the case with my family and myself. And then the next one is discard. Greg, any thoughts on what you think that would be?
Context would tell me that just trying to act like you're not important or you're not wanted anymore.
Pretty much, yeah. The narcissist may suddenly break off the relationship and discard you. It might be because they no longer feel like they are getting enough narcissistic supply, attention, admiration, control, and or because they found someone else. And let me tell you, in a narcissistic relationship, there's always someone else on the back burner. Just in case things go awry, they have to have that other narcissistic supply to replace you. You're never the only one in these relationships. Often the abuse escalates even further during this stage as the narcissist wants to leave the relationship as the winner. They want everybody to always think that they are a good person. And they will go to any length to assume that people think that, and they will try to totally destroy everything about you and your character to whoever will listen, so that they come out, smelling like roses and that they, are the winner and they did nothing wrong. The victim is often left feeling confused and devastated by the loss of the relationship and the harsh way in which they were broken up with. Discarding the victim is also a method of asserting control. They want you to have an emotional reaction. They love to see you cry and beg them to take you back. That was one thing that was slightly different in this relationship. For me, I was the one always doing the breaking up and ending the relationship. I don't know. I just was always feeling I never wanted to keep proving myself to somebody. And then I always had all these accusations when I was truly doing nothing wrong. And it would get to the point to where I literally thought I was going to have a nervous breakdown because of all the pressure from feeling like I'm doing something wrong when I wasn't doing anything wrong. And so I would literally be like, I'm not doing this. You're going to have to change how you're treating me because I cannot live like this. So I was basically the one that was threatening to leave the relationship. I probably broke up with him 40 to 50 times within a year. But he always had a way of reeling me right back in. So that was kind of the one thing that was a little different than, the normal relationships that from a narcissistic relationship. And then next is smear campaign, which that's pretty self-explanatory. To add insult to injury, the narcissist may launch a smear campaign against the victim. This can be spreading rumors and lies about you, telling people your secrets, and trying to ruin your reputation and relationships. They want to ensure that you look bad in other people's eyes, and they can take on the role of the victim. And it was very easy for him to take on the role of the victim, especially being that he just lost his wife a few months prior. Of course, made everybody's, have this heartfelt pity on him. And he ate that up. Like, he literally ate that up. It's another way of asserting control over you, even after they have discarded you. And he tried to totally and completely destroy every part of me, including my reputation. He inquired from my siblings, as I said before, my children, my friends. When he would go out with my friends, he would take them aside and like pump them for information, and they would tell me afterwards anything in my past. And then after he would find out everything in my past, every fight that we had, he would bring all those things up and throw them all in my face. And so I'll give you a quick example of one of the instances. So he somehow got in his head that I went out with one of my brother's friends, which never happened. He and I were friends on Facebook. I barely seen him twice. We might have said hi to each other. I really don't remember a lot about him. Just that this person, my perpetrator, ended up calling me and saying, I know that you went out with him. I'm going to confirm this with your brother. I'm like, please do. Like, my brother knows that I never went out with his friend. And so he did call my brother. My brother confirmed that, that wasn't true, that he never heard of us going out, that, he doesn't know where that came from. And so fast forward a little while, my brother ended up getting married, and I had him go to the wedding with me. And it was the biggest mistake that I ever made. So there was a slow song that came on, and I said, we should go dance. And he said, I can't dance with you to this song. This was me and my deceased wife's song. So, I can't do that. And he proceeded to start to cry. Well, then I felt bad for even bringing it up. I'm like, why did I even bring it up? So I went to the restroom, and my best friend was there. And she and I went into the bathroom, and we were in the stall together, and I was like crying and saying, I don't really know how to be there for him. Like, I'm trying so hard to be a support network for him. I'm trying to, help him through this, but I feel like everything I do is wrong. And let me tell you something. It wasn't wrong what I was doing. He was making me feel like everything that I did was wrong. I was doing everything that I possibly could to help him get through this grieving process. I actually grieved a woman I didn't even know right along with him. And so we were in the stall talking, crying. And in the meantime, he was out like a frantic psycho trying to find me, going up to everybody in the wedding. Like, where's your sister? Where's Chris? And so later, everybody told me that he was like looking for me, and they were like, calm down, dude. It's fine. Like, she's probably who knows where. Well, he decided that I was out in the truck having sex with this guy that I supposedly dated that was at the wedding. And so he comes, finally finds me. He's like, I know where you've been, and I don't appreciate you doing that. And I was so confused. I'm like, I was in the bathroom with my friend. He's like, no, you weren't. Her daughter went in there looking for you guys and yelling your names, and you guys never came out, which that never happened. And so I went up to my friend, and I was like, he thinks that I was with this guy. Like, can you tell him that we were together? I honestly don't even remember if her and him connected and she told him the truth. Even if she did, he wouldn't have believed it. So he ended up leaving the whole wedding. He went home that night because he thought that that's what I was doing. So yeah, he thought very highly of me, obviously.
How far into the relationship was this experience you had?
I would say that was like around the 5-month mark, probably. So then, of course, after all of the discarding and all of those other things comes the reconciliation. And after the abuse has reached its peak, the reconciliation phase begins. They then do everything that they can to make amends and lure you back into their slimy little web. And the abuser begs for forgiveness. They apologize. They promise to change, but also minimize the abuse and blames the victim. For example, no, I only did that because you did this. And if you wouldn't have did that, then I wouldn't have reacted this way. There was like never like, I'm sorry because I was wrong and I should have never done that. There was always a but attached to it. And the but was always, you were actually the one at fault, and I would have never done it had it not been for your behavior. The two main elements of the reconciliation stage include hoovering. And so hoovering, Greg, what is that?
I don't even know. I couldn't tell you. Hoovering.
That's when the narcissists use their charm and manipulation skills to hoover you back under their control. They apologize, promise to change, tell you all the things you want to hear. Kind of go back to the love bombing. It's very similar to that. They might take you on a lavish vacation, shower you with gifts and compliments, and make grand statements of their love for you. Naturally, you want to believe what they are saying and promising you because you still want to hold on to the hope that things can work out. And I can tell you what happened after the whole wedding thing. And then I was like literally done. I got home and he was calling me, telling me, because I ended up talking to somebody that I trusted about what happened. And I said, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And they ended up telling him everything I said. And then he called and said, oh my gosh, I thought that you really loved me, but now I know that you don't because you said you don't know if you can continue this. And it turned into a big mess again. So then he ends up sending me an email, and it was the sweetest thing. 23 promises that he made to me that were just amazing. But we'll get more into that later on. And so in my case, after all of the things that happened, he did exactly what was stated above. He would come to my house, beg me for forgiveness, promise to never do it again, buy me flowers, always showing up at my house unexpectedly to declare his love and his apologies. So after the Florida trip that I had mentioned earlier in the first podcast, I ended that relationship, obviously, after that incident. And that was in March. And then April comes up. And that's my birthday month. And he shows up at my house unexpectedly, made me a cake, got me a card, proclaimed his endless love for me, and begged me to take him back. I read the card, and it was everything I wanted to hear, as usual. And then he was getting on Google, and I happened to look over at his phone, and in his search engine, I saw things you write in your girlfriend's card. And so I snuck into the bathroom, and I Googled it, and guess what? Everything that was written in the card was right there on Google. So it wasn't things that he said from his heart. It was stuff that he read on Google. And so I went out and I confronted him and said, oh my gosh, that was so nice of you to think of all those kind things to say to me. Did you mean all of that? And he said, of course I did. I meant every word of it. And I said, did you think of it on your own? Oh, yes, of course I did. That's my heart. What I was trying to do is I wanted him to be honest with me. And I was giving him every chance to tell me the truth. And he said, it's how I feel about you. So I gave, after those several opportunities to come forth with the truth, he failed to do so. So I brought up the beautiful words that he written on Google and said, well, that's so funny that it's exactly the same thing that comes up on Google when you put what to put in your girlfriend's card. And he, of course, believe it or not, he denied, no, that's not true. And then the 23 promises, I started thinking to myself, my best friend said, are you sure that he didn't find those promises somewhere? And I'm like, oh, no, he would never do that. It was definitely from his heart. So after that, I decided to Google 23 promises to your boyfriend or girlfriend. And guess what came up? Word for word, every single one of those 23 promises. I just was like, who does that? It was absolutely beautiful and everything any woman would want to hear, but it's not from your heart. It's copied and printed off of Google. So I obviously ripped the card up, threw it in his face, and said, when you can think of the things that you want to tell me that are genuine and that you truly mean, you let me know. But until then, don't you ever buy me a card again. So this I'm not proud of. But then I proceeded to take the cake that he made me, and I dumped it in his suitcase, and I told him to get out. And that was pretty much the last time that he came to my house, because that's when I realized that I literally couldn't take the lies anymore. I mean, when you're lying about just even what you're writing in cards, when does it end at that point? And if he would have told me, I didn't really know what to say and I tried to get inspiration, that's fine. But it was complete lies. And I got to the point where I knew deep in my heart, regardless of what he said, that I deserved way better than what I was getting. And I knew that if he didn't kill me physically, he was mentally and emotionally destroying me. And I was literally becoming somebody that I did not like.
How did he react to the cake in his suitcase?
He was shocked. I don't think he was expecting that. His eyes got really big and he's like, I can't believe you got rid of the cake that I made you. And this is probably a lie. I've never made any woman a cake before. I did that special just for you. And this is the thanks I get for that. And at this point, I'm just like, okay, sure. Like, it's just, you just don't get to the point where everything that they start saying, you start doubting.
Yeah.
Well, my intention was to finish this podcast on Narcissist in 2 parts. However, there is so much information to go over that we had to actually make it into 3 parts. So we're going to end it here. But remember, life is full of hurts. And always smile through the tears. God has always got your back. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button after you listen so you will get notifications for each new podcast. I appreciate your support and have a great night. Thanks.